Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Lean in Government podcast. I'm your host, Alen Ganić. Thank you for joining me today as we continue exploring practical ways to improve government processes, serve our community better, and develop stronger teams. In this episode, I want to talk about something that completely transformed my work in government and helped us improve flow: customer experience and revenue. And that is the power of KPIs and performance metrics. A KPI, a key performance indicator, is simply a measurable value that tells us how well we are performing in an area that matters. There we can see if we're winning or losing. Metrics are numbers behind our work. They help us understand if we are improving, staying the same, or getting worse. In government, we often make decisions based on feeling, assumptions, or what we believe is happening. But Lean teaches us to base decisions on data. The numbers tell the real story. And most importantly, the numbers guide us to the right solutions. One of the biggest lessons I learned is that data only becomes powerful when it is visible. When KPIs are displayed on a dashboard, huddle boards, charts, or even simple printout on the wall, the entire team becomes aligned. Everyone on your team sees the same results. Everyone sees the same problems, and everyone can help solve them. Visual KPIs replace confusion with clarity, and they turn improvements from a project into a habit. Let me share one of the most impactful examples from my experience at parking services. During large events, which I mentioned in the last episode, like hockey games, concerts, and arena events with 10,000 to 12,000 people, we had major slowdowns in our parking ramp. Cars were piling up. Streets were backing up. The loadout took between 90 to 120 minutes on some nights. So we started measuring. We created a KPI to track total lead time for cars entering and exiting the ramp. We measured by event, by date, and even by specific locations. And we started measuring revenue by month, by year, revenue by each parking location, by booth, by parking equipment, pane lane, for example. This allowed us to see seasonal patterns, and we had those. Identify high performing areas, which areas bringing most cash in and which one is not. And notice underperforming location. Instead of guessing how we are doing financially, we had a clear picture. We could forecast, we could budget better, and we could make smarter decisions based on real numbers. That's our assumptions. This is critical in government, where every dollar needs to be managed responsibly. One of the biggest improvements we made was implementing a digital work order system called CityWorks for our parking meters, gates, and equipment. CityWorks brought us a lot of success. Instead of managing work orders on a piece of paper and tracking it that way, which we have done, every night our technicians would bring written work orders and put it in our inbox outside of dispatch office, and then somebody would take it and file it, which in most cases was useless. The only time we would look at those papers if we want to see what they billed us for and compare this with the PO and when we are processing payments. That's about it. But with CityWorks, that changed. Every repair, every part changed, every technician's note, everything was recorded. Now we could measure. We could measure cost per work order, for example, cost per machine by location, monthly repair cost. How much does it cost us to fix all this equipment? And machine-specific failure trends. I remember when I first started tracking that, my technicians didn't like it. They didn't like the transparency. They didn't like it that somebody now sees everything that's done. Not that they were hiding anything, but they didn't like it. They did approach me, especially this older gentleman that was very close to retirement. He told me, I don't like this. Why are you measuring this? We feel like we're being watched. But it was not the point. The point is to get the facts. But later, those same individuals came back to my office and thanked me for it. Why? Because now on their laptops, they can see what previously work they have done, and they can see what their friends have done. For example, one gentleman was off on medical leave for months, but then his friend was off on vacation and he came to fix one of those broken equipments. And then he opened up the work order and saw history of things that were done on this piece of equipment. And he saw exactly what his friend, his colleague, has exchanged inside this equipment. He came to me, this old gentleman, I remember, and said, Alen, previously, I would not have known that he has touched this, and that he has ran these tests. Now I do. So I'm not going to repeat that. So his time fixing equipment was much, much more efficient because he knew the history. Because he knew the history, something would come to me and said, Ellen, you see the cost for repairs of this equipment, total cost in last 3 months. He said, I don't think it's worth time and money to invest more time and money into this piece of equipment because it's old and it costs a lot of time and money to repair this piece of equipment. I would recommend to give you a quote for a new piece of equipment. And then we had facts that I could take to other leaders and make that recommendation, say, I think that we do need to replace this piece of equipment. Yes, it's going to cost us 20, 30, 40, 60, $70,000, but here's why. Here's the return on investment. Before that, I could not calculate return on investment with facts. Before this, we had no idea how much each machine was costing us. But with KPIs, key performance indicators, the truth became visible. This data allowed us to replace high-cost machines, predict failures, and budget more accurately. So I had an Excel spreadsheet, asset management system built on Excel spreadsheet, and I was able to predict when each machine is going to die, break down completely, and when it should be replaced. So for my budgets, I was able to go to my boss and say, I need for this year this much money for equipment replacement. And she would ask me, why? Why such a high number? Here are the facts. This piece of equipment was purchased 20 years ago and life expectancy is 20 years. So it's at the end of the road. It's going to, die at any time. And we don't want to have that failure. So you can predict. Our technicians loved it because they could track their work. And the leadership loved it because they could finally see the cost of maintenance. Never before. When it was written on a piece of paper, we never had this information. So what are you going to put in a metric if you don't have it? Unless we hired somebody to go through all those paper documents, add it up, which would be very time consuming and costly. We're also starting measuring customer complaints. I don't think this was ever measured before. Why? Because people would come and ask me in my office, why you have so many charts and metrics on your wall? What do all these charts and metrics represent? And then I would explain to them. And after I spent 5, 10, 15 minutes with them explaining, they understood the whole process. They said, wow, this is great. You're really, truly visually managing your whole operations. I can tell where are you making money, where you're failing, and where you need to make improvement without even talking to you. And that was the whole goal. So we tracked how many complaints we received when it comes to customer complaints. We tracked the types of complaints. Are they complaining about gates hitting their vehicles during the exit? Are they complaining about not receiving correct change or not having change at all. What are the complaints? That was important. So we start measuring that. Also, we tracked which location generate the most issues, how long it took to resolve each complaint. And every time somebody would go to address a complaint, would document time, arrival, and when it was done, and took some notes. So that's how we got the data. When you measure something, it improves. When you visually display the trend, the improvement accelerates. Why? Well, everyone can see it. Everyone can participate and help you solve the problems. Transparency is amazing. And that's exactly what happened. Complaints went down because the data guided us to the real problems. One of my favorite improvements was implementing discrepancy reporting. We started measuring discrepancy, which was not done before. Why? Because we didn't have the information. But we started measuring discrepancy by location, by machine, by booth, by type of issue. This justified where we needed training to train our booth attendants, security officers, our technicians, supervisors, team leaders, where we needed repair, and where we need process adjustments. Without KPIs, you are completely blind. With KPIs, you see problems immediately. I always like to say to people, if you want to test your visual management, see if you can see abnormalities looking at your visual management in 5 seconds or less. If it takes you more than 5 seconds, then your visual management is not well developed. You need to do some work. The biggest benefit of all this was how KPIs improved our teamwork. When the data is visual and you present that to everyone, leadership sees the real issue or real issues. Employees understand expectations, what's expected out of them. If they print out the report and we bring into the safe room that report from the cash register and we bring the cash and our now software tells us what should be coming in before you even approach to the office. Everything is visual and everything needs to match and people can get out quicker. And of course, there are some issues and we have to address those issues. Nothing is perfect, but our quality of work has improved immensely. The team focuses on the same goals if you display these visual metrics. And improvement comes part of the daily work, not just once in a while. Daily work, as soon as you see abnormalities, you start addressing those abnormalities. It creates transparency, trust, and accountability. And I think there's no government entity in the world, especially here in the United States, and people like taxpayers that would say, I don't like transparency, trust, and accountability. We have to have that. And to have that, we have to create a system. The other thing, people stop blaming each other and start solving problems together. Because I taught my team, lean is about people. In lean, we blame process, not the people. You have an issue, blame the process, fix it, find out what the problems are. And having these KPIs, visual tools, help my team identify bottlenecks, issues, to see a real problem where they occur. And then they put some countermeasures and ideas how to fix it. KPIs are not just numbers. This is not like a wallpaper. It's not a shiny object. That's not what KPIs are meant to be. I know some people misuse it. And I know, and I've seen it myself firsthand in private sector and public sector, where people just want to show off with some KPIs, look cool, and make them so they end up in green. And that's not the point of KPIs. KPIs is all about transparency. Show me everything the way it is. Then start solving those problems one at a time. Don't take KPIs as a wallpaper to show that you're in green. They are leadership tool. and they are one of the most important elements of lean thinking government. When you track what matters, when you make it visual, and when you use it to guide improvement, your organizations, I guarantee you, becomes stronger, faster, and more customer focused. That is all I had for today for this episode. I want to thank you all for listening to episode number 5 of the Lean Government Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please follow, share, and leave a review. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Until next time, stay focused, stay consistent, and keep improving. Goodbye.